Welcome, everyone, to the World Series edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with Alanna Rizzo. We're going to talk about all things World Series, the addition of Bo Bichette to the roster, the situation with Alex Vesia. We're going to get into some other things going on in the sport as well, the Angels, the Giants, all kinds of things. But first, Alanna, hello, how are you? And it's good to be with you again.
Yeah, great to be with you too, Ken. Of course, the time we've been waiting for, the rosters are out. What do you make of it?
The big one is Bo Bichette, the big addition. Now, he was added to the roster, as was Ty France, and the Jays are dropping Yariel Rodriguez, the reliever, and Joey Loperfido, who was added for Anthony Santander in the last round. Bichette obviously is major news. Now, the next question is, how are the Jays going to deploy Bo Bichette? They obviously feel he is healthy enough to play, even though he has not played since September 6th due to a left knee sprain. So, do you use him as a DH? Do you use him at shortstop? Doubtful, because Andres Jimenez is playing so well and Bo Bichette's coming off a knee sprain. Or do you use him at second base, which is where he has taken ground balls the last couple of days? That's a position he hasn't played since 2019 at AAA. I don't see that happening. To me, with Blake Snell, a left-hander on the mound tonight, the obvious move is Bichette at DH, George Springer in the outfield. Now, George Springer hasn't played the outfield since September 24th, hasn't done it all that much this year, but when I asked manager John Schneider yesterday, can Springer play the outfield? Is he capable of doing that? Schneider's answer was yes, absolutely he is. So, Bo Bichette, again, is not on the roster just for appearance's sake. Maybe they will use him solely as a pinch hitter. I can kind of see that. But again, with the lefty on the mound, Alanna, tonight's the night we see Bo Bichette, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it looks like Yariel Rodriguez, Joey Loperfido were off. As you mentioned, Ken, Ty France also added to the roster. You look at the Los Angeles Dodgers side, and they are out there without Alex Vesia, at least for now. What more can you tell us?
Well, he had what the Dodgers described as a family emergency over the last couple of days. So he is not going to be on the roster. There was some question over whether he would be added to the family emergency bereavement list, which is something that would require him to be out a minimum of 3 days and a maximum of 7. As far as we know, he has not been put on that list. They announced their roster this morning. Will Klein was on it, others were on it, and Alex Vesia was not. So it seems to me that because of what happened with Alex Vesia, and we don't know more details just yet, he is not going to be available. And the roster is set, and that is that. Obviously, it's a shame for the Dodgers. Vesia has been a terrific reliever for them all year, but the bigger concern, of course, is Vesia and his family and everything going on with him. So our thoughts obviously go out to him as in addition to everything else going on here, but no, he will not be on the roster.
Yeah, we certainly are thinking about Alex Vesia, his wife Kayla. The Dodgers said it's with heavy heart that they're dealing with a deeply personal matter. Ben Kasparius also left off of the roster. No Tanner Scott. He wasn't activated. Edgardo Henriquez and, as you mentioned, Ken, Will Klein were added for Los Angeles for the Fall Classic. Let's talk about some not so obvious World Series storylines, Ken. Jay's ability to adjust to off-speed stuff. What do you know?
Well, in the first 2 rounds, we saw the Yankees and the Mariners try to fastball the Jays out of existence. It didn't work very well. And the Mariners kept pounding fastballs because that is what they do. This is who we are. We pound the zone. And the Jays basically could not be held down. I would expect that the Dodgers are not going to fall into this same trap. I would expect that the Dodgers are going to go more breaking ball with Snell starting tonight and onward. And if the Jays can adjust to that, because they're a heavy first pitch swinging team, aggressive early in counts, all the power to them. It's just a different look, and they're going to get a different look from the Dodgers. One of the things the Dodgers do really well, we talk about their money endlessly, but they game plan really well, and obviously right now their starting pitchers are executing at a level that we haven't seen in the postseason for quite some time.
Ken, one of the things about the matchup between the Dodgers and whether it was going to be the Mariners or the Blue Jays was that the Blue Jays don't have as many left-handed starters in the starting rotation, but they do have some pretty darn good left-handed relievers. How do you think that will affect the Freemans, Ohtanis, and Muncies of the world?
I would say a lot of they have left-handed relievers. I don't know how good they are. Now, Mason Fluharty has been pretty good, and he's had a good run in the postseason. He's been someone actually who had a save against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. That game kind of swung the home field advantage for this series. If you look back on it now, Jays with 94 wins, Dodgers with 93. That game could have changed it. Brendan Little gave up the big game-tying homer to Cal Raleigh in Game 5 of the ALCS. And that was a situation where they wanted Raleigh batting right-handed. Didn't work out too well. Brendan Little has been, for the Jays, until I would say the last month or so, a very effective reliever. But right now, not as hot as he was earlier in the season. And then there's Eric Lauer, who is more of a swingman, not a matchup guy, but I would imagine that they'll have him on the Dodgers' left-handed hitters as well. So this is a pivotal question in the series. How will the Jays hold down the Dodgers offense? Because if you remember, going back even to the wild card round, the Dodgers faced great pitching with the Reds. They faced it with the Phillies for sure, and even with the Brewers. Now they're facing a staff where Savage is really interesting, and this is the first time they'll see him. It's probably going to be difficult, I would imagine. And then Gossman, who's been good, but we're getting later in the postseason now. This is not as dominant a group, in my opinion, as some of the Dodgers opponents earlier. So we'll see how it goes. But what I like about this series, Alanna, I'm interested in your opinion. It seems to me that people think, Dodgers in 5. Dodgers will roll them. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that's going to happen.
Well, Ken, I want it to be entertaining. I did say Dodgers in 6, just to be different than my Dodgers territory co-host Clint Pasillas, who took the Dodgers in 5. But one of the questions, or one of the discussions that we had yesterday, Ken, and I'm interested in your thoughts about it. How much do you think experience plays into this? The Toronto Blue Jays haven't been to the World Series, I believe, since '93. You would know better than I. The Dodgers have been there as recently as last year. It's not just the players that have the experience. It's Dave Roberts and his coaching staff as well. How much does that experience lend into what the Dodgers are experiencing this time versus what the Blue Jays are experiencing, because it's new for the majority of them?
I would say the biggest edge perhaps is with the managers, because Dave Roberts has been through this time and time again. He has learned how to manage effectively in the postseason, and he's done it in different ways. With the bullpen last year, with the rotation this year, he understands the urgency. John Schneider does too for the Toronto Blue Jays, but it is newer for him. And he had an experience with Brendan Little in Game 5 where maybe he should have used Jeff Hoffman. And he's kind of learning as he goes. But at the same time, he's done a really good job for them. So certainly Roberts has more experience on the biggest stages. As for the players, keep in mind, the Jays have some veterans who have been here. George Springer is one. Max Scherzer is another. Chris Bassett, maybe not, but he is a veteran. And they have a pretty good mix of veteran players and less established players. And then they have a guy named Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who seems to relish being on the biggest of stages. So I don't know that it's going to matter that much. It certainly helps them as well being at home to start the series, where they've been really good all season long, even though the first 2 games of the ALCS were dropped at Rogers Centers by the Jays. I just expect they're going to be playing at their usual level. I don't expect them to be intimidated or stage fright, anything like that. That's not them.
And Ken, we know that you've been to multiple World Series. You've covered a lot of them. You know you've been to at least 20, maybe closer to 40 in terms of coverage. What are you looking the most forward to in terms of this particular matchup?
Well, we haven't talked much about the possibility of the Dodgers going back-to-back, and that's something that hasn't been done since the 1998 to 2000 Yankees. That is something that is, of course, the backdrop to this series. And the other aspect of that is, if the Blue Jays win, somehow, if they upset the Dodgers, it seems to me that a lot of people who are not Dodgers fans are going to be very happy. And all those people who talk about the Dodgers ruining the sport and all of this, and Jason Stark has a wonderful article today explaining how they're not ruining the sport. Those people are going to be screaming louder if and when the Dodgers do win the series. So it almost seems to me, and people are going to take objection to this, that for the sport, as we go into a labor negotiation coming up, not that the Jays are a small market team, they've got the 5th largest payroll. It seems to me that some of that talk would calm down if the Jays won. So all of these things are kind of swirling around, Alanna, and I'm just looking forward to the games themselves because I expect they're going to be good.
Yeah, obviously Canada cheering for the Jays, and I would imagine a lot of folks in the United States cheering for the Jays as well. Ken, if they're not Dodgers fans, don't forget though, the Dodgers do have the entire country of Japan backing them with Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, as well as Roki Sasaki. Of course, I kid. It's going to be a fun series. All right, get your questions in, guys, on the chat for Ken Rosenthal. So much to talk about here as we're getting ready for Game 1 of the 2025 World Series. We'll be back right after a quick break.
Let's take you through the Arena Club Slab Pack experience. This is part 2 because Todd Father last week pulled a card that he didn't love, yet he sold it back for actually more than what the slab pack cost. This time, pulls a card that he likes.
Yeah, and this is the best part of it. Ronnie Mauricio, the Mets standout, rookie sensation. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I like the itch of seeing what you're going to get. I like prospects. I don't love them. But seeing this kind of card is actually absolutely beautiful thing. I know a couple people around town that would absolutely love that card. So there's going to be a lot of conversations going on here for Arena Club.
And what you do is you have it in your digital showroom. If you want to hand it out locally, then cool. You ask Arena Club to send it to you, and they do. Or you can sell it back like you see there. Instant offer for $193, but he's keeping it. And you can do what Todd Father does by going to arenaclub.com/Val and getting 20% off your first card purchase or your first slab pack purchase.
All right, we welcome you back to Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. Time now to get some questions in. The first question is in regards to matchup, and this one I believe is from Mikey Romeo, and it's about what matchup, Ken, you're looking the most forward to. I would imagine they're talking about hitter-pitcher matchup, but Mikey Romeo, 2166, who do you want to see at the plate and on the hill?
Let's start with Game 1. Trey Savage versus the Dodgers. He has this unique high arm slot that players rarely see. I don't know that anyone in the major leagues right now is even comparable to Savage. So the Dodgers are going to be seeing him for the first time, but not really in the sense that they have the traject machine. And if you haven't heard about this, that's a machine that can simulate any pitcher's delivery and pitch shapes. You look at the video on the screen in the distance, 60 feet, 6 inches, whatever it is, and that's the pitcher coming at you. So they were watching Savage, hitting off Savage on the machine before they left for Toronto. Now, it's not the same as doing it in a game, obviously, but it's pretty darn close. But that, to me, is the most intriguing thing. When a team has not seen this guy, it's not easy to deal with his split, with his slider, with his fastball. He is a different look.
Ken, some folks want to make a case that he only has 6 big league starts under his belt, had a meteoric rise, obviously. Trey Savage, I'm talking about, through the system and getting to the point where he gets the ball for Game 1 of the World Series. Should we look into that too much? Do you think the moment will be too big? How will you know when you watch this game tonight that he's on?
Just if he's in the zone and commanding his pitches. I don't expect the moment to be big for him because he's done this against the Yankees now. He's done it twice against the Mariners in the ALCS. He has faced big moments. Now, granted, this is Game 1 of the World Series, but Alanna, this is a unique individual. He's 22 years old and talks like he's 32. When we interview him, it's not like you're interviewing a kid. He's got the presence and the fearlessness and all of those things that you would want. So I do not expect the moment to be too big for him. Obviously, the Dodgers might be too big for him. It's Ohtani and Betts and Freeman and Muncy and Smith. But I don't expect them to be nervous, put it that way.
Yeah, I think Trey Savage certainly has a bright future in the sport. He does seem like he's ahead of his time in terms of his poise and professionalism. Next question is from Luke Artema, 7056. Which bullpen has the advantage in this series? Ken, the Dodgers bullpen has been suspect, if you will. What do you think in terms of Luke's question?
I would say both are suspect. And the Dodgers then would have the advantage because their starters are going deeper into games. This 35 to 40 game stretch that they've been on, the starters have been incredible. So I would say the Dodgers have the advantage simply because we're not going to see their relievers as much, and we'll see what happens. I know Mike Petriello in MLB.com has mentioned, and others have too, that Sasaki, because he's not striking out guys, what he's doing is a little bit smoke and mirrors. All right, but he's doing it. So we'll see how that all plays out. But yes, I would not say either team has a particular advantage in that regard. Both bullpens are capable of being had.
Yeah, I love this next question. Toronto is a beautiful city. Canada is a beautiful country. I love this question. Do you see this World Series igniting talks about a team coming back to Montreal? We'll see that support fandom fan base in baseball in Canada. It's big. It's not just hockey there. They love their baseball as well.
No question. And some of the TV ratings for the ALCS, Game 7 especially, were off the charts for Rogers. Now, Rogers has the rights in Canada just as Fox has them in the United States. And Game 7, the average viewership was 6 million. In a country of 40 million, that's an amazing number. Now, what does it mean for Montreal? I don't know that it means anything. It seems to me that Nashville is a strong favorite whenever baseball does expand for one of the teams, and the other team would be out west. Montreal is a city that once supported baseball, and you can make a strong case that the strike of 1994-95 is what did in baseball in Montreal, and that was through no fault of the people living there or the fans there.
Mhm.
But I just don't see Montreal being at the forefront of expansion talks. It just doesn't seem like it has been that way in recent years.
I believe that next Netflix just came out with a documentary on the Expos that our friend Ken Rosenthal has a cameo in, talking about the Washington, D.C. market. Check it out on Netflix. All right. After the break, Ken and I are going to discuss our dude and dorks of the week. We'll be right back.
BetMGM account holders, today, how about an any sport parlay boost token? You can score a bigger payout if your wager with that token hits. Tokens can be used on parlays and on same-game parlays. Gambling problem or concern? There's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dude. Dude. Dude.
Ken, let's give somebody some praise. Who is your dude of the week?
I'm going to go with San Francisco Giants president of baseball operations, Buster Posey. Now, the hiring of Tony Vitello as manager could be great. It could be a disaster. I don't know that it's going to be somewhere in between. But what I admire about Posey here is the guts that he has shown since taking this position. This is a former player moving into the front office in the highest role possible, and he is just doing some things that have been unconventional, to say the least, this hiring being most of all. You see here the quote from Scott Ostler, the brilliant columnist from the San Francisco Chronicle. Buster Posey didn't just think outside the box in hiring Tony Vitello to be the new manager of the San Francisco Giants. He's thinking outside the warehouse where the boxes are stored. That is a great line. I wish I could write like that. And Scott's right. It's completely outside the box, but you know what? It's different, and maybe it works, and maybe Buster Posey looks really good. He made a daring trade as well for Rafael Devers, and people in the industry are like, oh, they take on all that money. Well, they couldn't get a star any other way. They struck out on all those free agents. So I just admire the way he's going about it. Now, whether he succeeds, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, they lost out on Shohei Ohtani. They lost out on Aaron Judge. They made that big move for Rafael Devers. Hopefully it pays dividends for them in the future. My dude of the week, Ken, is the baseball lifer, Don Mattingly, Donnie Baseball, who, of course, has been around this game for a very long time, 36 years, in fact, almost 4 decades. And he's never been to the World Series, not as a player. Of course, his unbelievable career was shortened by injuries. He very much could be in the Hall of Fame had he kept going. You know, he hasn't been there as a manager. He has not been there as a coach until now. So congratulations to Donnie Baseball, obviously a part of John Schneider's staff with the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm happy for him. I'm so happy for Lori, his wife, their kids, Preston Mattingly, who obviously is with the Philadelphia Phillies. Just congratulations and good luck to Donnie Baseball in terms of that. Time now for the dork of the week. Ken, you and I typically split this up, but I think this is a question of, this could potentially be our dork of the year. Those are my words, not your words, but why don't you go ahead and start us off? Who is the dork of the week this week?
Certainly the dork of the week. Now, dork of the year, we'll deal with it another time, Alanna. But we're going to divide this up because we each have reasons why we want to name this person dork of the week. And it's going to be Artie Moreno, the Angels owner. And I'm going to name him dork of the week for giving Kurt Suzuki, his new manager, a 1-year contract. 1 year. Managers typically get 3 or even 4. And in this case, it seems that Moreno wants to keep his options open in case there's a lockout next year and doesn't want to pay a manager in that circumstance. I don't know that that is entirely his motivation. Maybe he just wants to see whether Kurt Suzuki can do this job. But Suzuki enters his final year. Minassian, the GM, enters his final year. And here's the problem. When you're on a one-year deal as a manager, players know it, man. They know you're a lame
Mhm.
duck. And they know that your authority is only going to extend so far. So Kurt Suzuki, who has a chance, I'm sure, to be a good manager, even though he's never had a coaching or managing position, he's playing from behind before he even starts, and that's no good. Go ahead,
Before I
Alanna.
get before I get into my reasons, though, let's follow up on that a little bit. Ken, is the reason to take the job just to get your foot in the door as a manager, to say, hey, it's on my resume now, I'm a big league manager, there's only 30 jobs in the bigs? What's Suzuki's incentive here?
I think it's just that, Alanna. You're right. And to me, that's a little bit flawed logic because this franchise is so difficult to win with Moreno running the team the way he does. You inherit all the problems that the previous managers all had, and it's an uphill fight. I just don't see it ending well for Kurt, and I hate saying that because I like Kurt. He's a good baseball person. Obviously, he was a great catcher for many years, a World Series champion, but he's in tough here.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the reason Albert Pujols or Torrey Hunter were no longer under consideration is A, they're like, I'm not only taking a year, or do you think Kurt Suzuki was more qualified just being that he is a catcher and he's been in the system already as a special assistant?
So was Torrey. So I don't know
Yeah.
that he's more qualified than Torrey in that regard. With Pujols, it seemed it was contractual. He's under contract to the Angels with this personal service thing.
Mm,
He wanted some kind of arrangement that Artie Moreno did not want to give him, whether it's years, money, whatever the number or problem was. We're not sure, but that was the issue. And Torrey, I'm not sure Torrey would have taken 1 year. And I'm
right.
not sure they just didn't see Suzuki as a better fit as a manager. I don't know the answer to that, but given where this process started with Albert the favorite, it was a
Mhm.
surprising.
Yeah, I would think a year deal is kind of a slap in the face. For me, Ken, the reason is that just what Yusi Kikuchi was saying, that the air conditioning did not work all year. This is a major league franchise, guys. The general manager plays the dumbest man ever as far as an Angels post for HVAC help. What are we doing? I mean, it seems so ridiculous. You can't make this up. Sam Blum, who covers the Angels for The Athletic, says the Angels posted a job for an HVAC air conditioning technician today. Today. What are we doing? You have a major league club that doesn't have air conditioning in certain areas of their clubhouse. I mean, it just seems unbelievable that this continues to happen. But again, it's not just this little, and this is a minor issue, I guess. I mean, what you're going to talk about next in terms of the owner facing the franchise and long-term loyalists to testify, that's even a bigger issue in terms of why this man could easily be Dork of the Year.
Well, what you're talking about, Alana, is the Tyler Skaggs trial. And the Angels are being sued by the family of Skaggs, and we've been following this and been aware of it. And had Artie Moreno settled this lawsuit, then Mike Trout wouldn't have had to testify about some uncomfortable things that he was a part of in the clubhouse. Tim Mead, their longtime former PR man, would not have had to testify and basically said nothing. They wouldn't have put all of these people in uncomfortable positions. Now, I don't know what Artie Moreno's thinking is there, why he wanted to proceed with the suit. Maybe he just feels he's in the right here. The Angels are in the right, and we're not giving in. I can understand that. But as a result of not going to a settlement, here is where we are. And this is what has happened. It's kind of laid bare what was going on with the Angels for a few years there, and it's not pretty at all.
My next thought here is Anthony Rendon, who I have played more major league games than in the last 4 years, is still owed $38 million, Ken Rosenthal. This has to be one of the worst contracts in major league history in terms of time on the field versus amount of money given.
I would agree with that, Alana. It's certainly true. Josh Hamilton didn't work out too well for them. Albert Pujols did really work out too well for them. They have not done well with some of their long-term deals. Even Trout, you can argue, they're not getting the return there that they thought they were going to get initially. So the way this franchise is run, to sum this all up, in general, has been incompetently. And we talk about the Rockies a lot and how insular they are and how they do things different than the rest of the teams in Major League Baseball. The Rockies, seemingly under Walker Monfort now, are trying to at least hire a general manager from the outside. Maybe they'll start being less insular. The Angels, you look at them, it's the Artie show all the time. And my goodness, when are we going to see this team be a representative franchise again in a large market? People talk about the Dodgers this, the Dodgers that. Yeah, the Angels have a lot of the same advantages the Dodgers do, and they've squandered them, starting with Ohtani, but including many other things. So it's just a shame what has happened here, and it's a shame what's happened with that team. It's tough to be a fan of that club right now, and it's going to be difficult until there's some real changes in either the way Moreno operates or the sale of the club.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A sale might be the only thing that saves this franchise, Ken Rosenthal. What if the Dodgers ended up signing Anthony Rendon? Thank goodness he didn't want that Hollywood lifestyle, because maybe the Dodgers would not be in the World Series. I know it doesn't come down to one guy. That being said, we're going to say goodbye right now for our folks watching us on TV. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. We have a couple more minutes with the YouTube family right after this. All right. If you're still with us, that means that you're on YouTube. We appreciate you guys supporting us. Ken, congratulations. Your 20th World Series for you on Fox, a great crew over there, of course. Not your 20th World Series, but your 20th with them. That's exciting. I mean, tell us why you still get the juice out of doing, maybe that's not a good phrase in baseball, why you still get jazzed up, if you will, for covering the World Series. And I would imagine there's still a big part of you that's just a fan of this great game.
Yeah, that's basically it, Alanna. And the excitement comes from this uncertainty on what's going to happen here and the stories that we are going to get one way or the other. And that's what drives me always, just covering the stories and talking to the people and telling those stories, whether television, print, however you want to do it. That is what is it for me. And that's the fun part, the competition of that, trying to be the best you can be, trying to get things that other people don't have, all of that. But before I even go any further, and actually forget going any further with me, I want to mention our producer, Pete Macheska. This is his final World Series. He's done 22 of them. And he is going out with this World Series. He's going to continue to do football, but he has been, to me, incredibly welcoming this whole time, and especially at the start when they had not had a print reporter at Fox do sideline. Joe Buck and Tim McCarver, of course, were very supportive as well, but Pete, he's been the guy for a long time, and that job is not easy. He does it extremely well, and it's been a joy working for him. So
yeah, that's great.
Hopefully we send Pete out with a really good World Series. Let's put it that way.
Yes, hopefully it's entertaining and everything works in the truck as it's supposed to work. Congratulations to Pete and best of luck as you continue your career covering football, of course, for Fox. I'm looking forward to just good games. I want it to be competitive. I'm excited for a lot of reasons, but this is the greatest game in the world, and I'm just grateful that we get to cover it, not only here on Fair Territory, but obviously watching you and the guys on Fox. And talk about the crew a little bit, Ken. I mean, it's incredible. You have Big Papi, you have obviously Derek Jeter, Hall of Famers. Kevin Burkhardt does a tremendous job. You, of course, Verducci, and not to mention the guys in the booth, Hall of Famer John Smoltz, of course, and our buddy with the Dodgers, Joe Davis. It's just a great crew.
It is, and it's been that way ever since I've been there. With Joe Buck and Tim McCarver, we had Bill Webb at that time was the director. Now it's Matt Gangle. Bill Webb was a revolutionary director. He changed the way baseball was shown on television, and Matt Gangle has taken it to another level. I always look at it this way, Alanna. I feel like I'm part of an all-star team with this group, and it's not just the people you just mentioned, and you know this from working in TV. It's all of the people behind the scenes in the truck, manning the cameras, the audio people, everyone that works on these broadcasts is big time, really great. And I'm grateful just to be a part, honestly.
Yeah, well, good luck. I can't wait to watch your coverage tonight. We appreciate it. Game 1 of the World Series on Fox. Of course, everybody tuning in. Thanks for watching and listening today, everybody. We appreciate it. Fair Territory is back on Monday. Today's Foul Territory coming up. Todd Frazier, Eric Kratt, Scott Braun has John Smoltz, Kevin Pillar, and Braves reporter Grant McCauley. Don't forget, both Foul Territory and Dodgers Terry with myself and Clint Pasillas will have live post-game shows right after every World Series game. Let's do it.